as an American, which teams do you support? Are you supporting Haas every time, or is it not quite as loyal to your country?
Yeah, no. Everyone that listens to our podcast know I'm a lifelong Ferrari fan. The picture back would give it away, but yeah, I've always been a Ferrari fan. I've suffered through all the Ferrari doldrums for years, so it's not easy being Tifosi, but it always is. But I actually approach this with a pretty non-biased. Even though I'm a Ferrari fan, I think I've been the most critical of Ferrari. So yeah, but the American audience pretty split. Certainly, it all comes down to initial brand. They certainly know Ferrari. Ferrari is one of the biggest brands in the entire world. Certainly Mercedes is big. Those big names are always good. So the fan base pretty split really in the Americas.
You've told me that you're a Ferrari fan, so I haven't asked you yet personally what you make of the big Lewis Hamilton move next year. He must be licking his lips right now, because when it was announced, Ferrari weren't exactly performing. But now, while he's getting as much as he possibly can out of that Mercedes, he's watching Charles and he's watching Carlos win races in a Ferrari that isn't going to change much next year. So he's actually, for the second time in his career, potentially timed this incredibly well.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and my thought on that is exactly the same, John. I think when we talk about all the wonderful things that Lewis does, his incredible driving, he's got a great flair he loves the fashion, and he does a lot of things really well, does Lewis, right? But I would argue one of the greatest things he does is he just has that ability. It must be a magic ball or a crystal ball, but he comes into the team exactly at the right time. He entered Formula One at McLaren just exactly at the right time. When he left McLaren, a lot of people are scratching their head because they were watching Schumacher and Rosberg struggle over there at Mercedes trying to develop that car. And they're like, what is he doing? He hit Mercedes 8 world championships, right? And then a lot of people say, why is Lewis leaving Mercedes? They can bull it back. They're brilliant men and women at Mercedes. They know what they're doing. Why would he leave and go to Ferrari? Ferrari's had all these issues. Their strategies in the bin. What are they thinking? He's timing it perfectly again. And yeah, it's a great on Lewis, because that is not easy. And I would offer as a juxtaposition of what I'm saying, look at Fernando's career. Just seems to miss that rise, and Lewis just seems to get it right. So yeah, if Ferrari seems to come on song, and I don't see the regulations changing next year, and Ferrari can keep that development and evolution going with next year's car, Lewis could be in the catbird seat.
It's going to be remarkable to see him if he turns up and speaks fluent Italian as well, which I'm not ruling out. I feel, right. I reckon he's been slyly doing it. We've not heard any hints of it, and he'll just go in day one and he's speaking proper Italian. We obviously have Brazil coming up this weekend. Weirdly, I was going to look at going to these 3 races, and I thought, well, Mexico to Brazil is not too far, because I was planning on driving from Austin to Mexico, which people warn me against, because apparently driving through some parts of Mexico, don't do that. But Brazil is quite a long way from Mexico. The altitude is obviously something that in Mexico the drivers have had to deal with. Brazil, quite humid. What are you expecting this weekend? Do you think we're going to see more Ferrari dominance, or do you think that maybe the Red Bulls can, do something in the meantime to work out how to get that car a bit faster?
Yeah, just to be honest and tell on myself, Austin, I think was great for Ferrari, certainly. I really kind of felt that going to Mexico, they may struggle a little bit. The Ferraris, it's what is it, 2,200 meters above sea level. Over here, John, we're still on something we like to call the British Imperial System. You may have heard of it. So it's about 7,200 feet above sea level, and I really, it's a 20% reduction in air pressure. Oxygen is on rare form. So I really kind of thought that they may struggle a little bit more keeping those brakes cool, that engine cool in the Ferrari, and that I was proven wrong. It would not surprise me if they went to Brazil and they were equally as strong there. And it really could come down to a McLaren Ferrari battle at Sao Paulo, because it's kind of shaping up that way. And in the latter part of the Mexico Grand Prix, certainly Lando in that long run form seemed every bit as fast as Carlos and Charles. So it could end up being a battle, and you never know. I think Red Bull certainly on the back foot.
Yeah, we have a 29-point gap then, don't we, between McLaren and Ferrari for the Constructors' Championship, which is often overlooked. But as you say, that's where the money is. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. I can guarantee you the altitude in Mexico City does not agree with my very British altitude sensors. Every time I go there, I get the nosebleeds, I get the lightheadedness.
Dehydrated.
So when Charles Leclerc was sort of complaining at one point that he couldn't get his water working, they were joking about it on the TV, and I was like, no, I can fully understand why that's important. But
Absolutely.
looking forward to Brazil. Always a good race at Interlagos. Todd, I'm going to let you shamelessly sell whatever you want to right now, which I presume is the parcferme.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me on the show. I really do appreciate it. The honor is all mine. Certainly, we've been podcasting and talking and writing about Formula One for 17 years now at the Parc Fermé, theparcferme.com. That's the name of the podcast as well. We're on episode 909. I've done 80 special interview podcasts on top of that. Millions of downloads. We're global, and we've been doing it a long time. I've worked with Ferrari and Red Bull and Shell and everybody in the paddock. I've been to many of the races over the years. I've been to Ferrari's headquarters over the years, and we love it. And one of my co-hosts, John, is Paul. Paul is the sporting manager for the Aston Martin Heart of Racing team here in IMSA, and his team and Ian James will be running both Valkyries at Le Mans next year. So,
nice.
So he's a real professional thing. He's a real race car driver. So I'm not. So I went out and befriended one. But yeah, I would love to promote the podcast for sure at theparcferme.com.
Awesome stuff. And I know that obviously you speak with Paul Ross quite a lot on talkSPORT as well.
I do.
Nights after the race and sometimes with Martin across the weekend as well. So
yes.
I think it's always good to get a perspective from somewhere else in the world. And obviously we have Las Vegas coming up very soon. So hopefully we can speak again maybe before and after that. And are you going to make your way out to Vegas, or is that a bit too chaotic for you?
It's a little chaotic and it's a little expensive. I think I'll wait for all the hype to slow down. I love Austin. I've been there many times, but eventually I'm sure I'll make it to Vegas.
Okay, one day soon. In the meantime, you can maybe drive it on the computer game or something like that. So you feel like you're not only there, but also you are a real driver, Todd. Thank you very much for joining me. Check out theparcferme.com and, of course, Todd's podcast as well. And check out On Track, our weekly motorsport show here on talkSPORT. New episodes, as I said at the start of this show, every Tuesday from 2 p.m. live on talkSPORT 2. And we've also got the brand new talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel where you can go and watch chats with Oscar Piastri. And we've got some more coming up as well with the start of the Formula E season very, very soon with Nick De Vries on the way this week. You can check out that as a podcast as well. Just make sure you just type in On Track talkSPORT into whichever podcast app you've got. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit subscribe. See you next time.